Hey baseball fans, how's it going? Hayden here, and welcome to episode number 1 of the 2024 New York Mets regular season podcast. So, let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive right into it. What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden here, and welcome to episode 1 of the 2024 New York Mets regular season podcast. Changing things up a little bit for the last 2 seasons. I did my game recaps and opinions and all that great stuff via live stream, and I figured for the beginning of the season, why not do a podcast-based? Figured change it up. We'll see how it goes. So, in this podcast, we're only going to be talking about the first 2 series. So, let's get into it. As we could see, the Mets are technically 3 series into the 2024 Major League Baseball season. However, we're only talking about the first 2, and things have been very intriguing for the Mets. As of Saturday night, the Mets have a record of 2-5, one of their worst in quite some time. So looking at the 3 series, particularly the 2, we could see the Mets have suffered with a variety of issues at different points in time, making them extremely unreliable and very inconsistent. They don't pitch when they hit, and then they don't hit when they pitch. That's kind of the moral of the story that we've seen so far. We saw it a lot last year. Coming into the Brewers series, they were swept in the opening series, 3-1, 7-6, and 4-1. The offense was extremely limited and inconsistent. Runners hardly made it on because they didn't get many hits or walks or had productive at-bats, very quick at-bats, swinging first pitch, getting out on the first pitch. This lineup left an ample amount of runners in scoring position. We saw some positives from this offense as Francisco Alvarez looked excellent at the plate and behind the plate, of course, as catcher. Great framing. His framing metrics are looking phenomenal. He was one of the few really players who showed any sort of life or urgency. Also, recognition goes for Brett Beatty and Starling Marte. They looked good, put up notable at-bats, very productive. In terms of the pitching, should definitely be discussed. Quintana looked adequate, struggled in the first inning, but then having his defense make ground ball outs and started to pound the strike zone for the remaining 5 innings. Like I said, Quintana's a guy who's not going to throw a lot of strikeouts. He's going to, have his infielders make those ground ball outs, and that's what he did. The bullpen was up to par in Game 1. Getting into Game 2, Severino struggled, walked numerous hitters. The Brewers ran all over him. They're a sneaky, fast, athletic team. Got a lot of weak and soft contact against him, a lot of bloopers, and it got the best of Severino. He also did not have his desired changeup grip, so that was also kind of a dilemma for him. Bullpen was adequate, nothing too fancy. And then getting into Game 3, Tyler McGill looked okay for the most part. His stride is much than last season, so that's something to look at. McGill's American Ghost forkball is an excellent completion for getting batters to pursue swing and miss. So that was a very nice pitch from McGill. Mixed up his pitches very well. We saw a lot of whiffs. So Tyler McGill is going to be very vital when it comes down to the Mets this season. So McGill, once again, in the rotation, and we're going to have to watch him a lot this season. McGill, we saw the last 2 seasons that he came in. His main job was to take over due to injuries, and that's going to be the case. And we're going to see if McGill can prove that case. He was a big reason why this team last year didn't succeed, so we are going to have to wait and see. So that was the New York Mets and Milwaukee Brewers series. The Mets going into another series against the Detroit Tigers, they were hoping things would change. The Tigers were coming into this red-hot 3-0 on the season, and the offense, once again, for the Mets was lifeless, whatever other term you want to use. The Mets only won 1 out of 3 games. The offense was bad as it had been in the previous series, with no one getting on base, little contact made, quick at-bats, very unproductive. The Mets were not getting walks or producing at all. Game 1, you lost 5-0. Game 2, you lost 6-3 in horrific, tragic ways. Once again, Alvarez, Beatty, and Marte were the only batters who shown any signs of life, energy, or urgency. Coming into Game 3, it seemed like it was really rock bottom that has struck. They were getting no hit into the 8th inning, but happily the Mets were able to pull it together. In the 9th inning, you got a clutch home run from Pete Alonso to tie it, and then you got a walk-off single from Tyrone Taylor. So a nice little walk-off for the New York Mets to win their first game of the 2024 New York Mets season. Now, getting into the pitching once again remained very good. Sean Manaea came in, game 1, 6 innings pitched, struck out 8, only walked 2, 1 hit. And Manaea looked good. Nice lefty, mixed up his pitches very well. Slider, changeup, fastball combination looked good. He was swinging and missing on a lot of this Tigers lineup. They were getting weak soft contact to the infielders. Manaea looked good pitching for game 1. You go to game 2, Adrian Hauser making his Mets debut as well. Looked phenomenal, 5 innings. Only 3 hits, a run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. 67 pitches, really pounded the zone. Could have went a little bit longer, but the Mets decided to go to their bullpen and somewhat worked off, somewhat didn't. The bullpen did struggle and blow this game. Of course, Ottavino, 1 bad pitch of Michael Tonkin really put the cherry on top for the Detroit Tigers. Pitching looked good, and then you go into game 3, and it was really a pitching duel. In this. Jose Butto looked great, 6 innings, 3 hits, a run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Jose Butto, guy during spring training, looked good. He's only in this rotation due to injury, due to Kodai Senga, so he's going to have to show himself that he could stay in this rotation when everyone is back and healthy. And if not, maybe he could be a nice 6, 7. Maybe you put him in the bullpen to work. I really do like that approach of taking young pitchers that really do have a lot of promise. Kind of like the Milwaukee Brewers approach when you have David Stern. So boom, there's your opportunity where you put them in the bullpen and you let them work for a season or two. And then you really break them out into the rotation. I think that's a great way for pitchers to really figure out who they are. And I think Butto could definitely be a great example for that. So, yeah, that was really the pitching for the New York Mets and Detroit Tigers series. Like I said, you only won 1 game out of those 6. Not very good. So now it comes to question is, what is there to think of this New York Mets team? It's early on. Historically, this team has done very well and then collapsed in the second half. Time will tell if this is a bad Mets start or if it is something worse. Like I said, by history, you have not only learned to expect the other shoe to drop, you already fell kicked by the first shoe if you are a Mets fan. The optimism scale is the lowest level of pessimism. When it comes down to this New York Mets team right now, we are going to have to wait and see. Time will tell. Like I said, offensively, this team is very weak. They are ranked 29th to 30th in pretty much slugging average and runs scored in MLB right now. We are going to have to wait and see. Like I said, it's very hard. The first inning, they're the only team in baseball to not have scored a run in the first inning quite yet. And we could see Brandon Nimmo's been off to a very slow start. He's been swinging the bat a little bit more, but he's starting to get good, so hopefully Nimmo can. And we also have to look at Francisco Lindor. He has gone through a really, really, really bad slump. He started off the season very slow, not hitting the ball a lot, striking out. He's been swinging from the left side. I would like to see him start hitting from the right side more. I know there's that whole lefty against righty, righty against lefty thing, but still, I would like him to really start hitting from the right side. I think, his swing is much more sweet. He has less fat on his swing from the right side. So we're going to see Lindor needs to step up. Simple as that. Lindor needs to step up. Nimmo needs to step up. Jeff McNeil needs to step up. McNeil's still taking his walks, which is great, but you need him to be that slap ball, contact-oriented hitter. Pete Alonso's looking fine. No really complaints with him. Really, the only 3 hitters that I'm impressed with is Brett Beatty, who's really looking well. We're seeing what he is meant to do, go the opposite way, spread the ball, and a lot of other things. We also look at Francisco Alvarez, power machine. He's really being more disciplined with pitches that are on the pinpoint of the strike zone, kind of on the corners. He's been very hesitant. Hence, he is walking more. He's getting more contact, more singles, more doubles, and then he also shows a lot of power. And then Starling Marte. We see what a healthy Starling Marte could do. He's taking his walks. He's stealing. He's been a threat on the base paths. He's going the opposite way. He's hitting for power. A healthy Starling Marte is going to be very good for this lineup. Will it come down to, the having guys like Joey Wendell, Tyrone Taylor in this lineup? They're not everyday players. So will it come to JD Martinez joining this team, being protection in this lineup, and then slithering out some of those guys who were just playing in the meantime? JD Martinez is really going to be a make or break for this Mets lineup. You hope that it's just a slow start. So yeah, overall, just to summarize, the offense needs to step up. Ranked pretty much worst in baseball in slugging, average, and runs scored. Offense needs to score. You need to get guys on base and drive them in and produce. Pitching's fine. They have the second best pitching ERA at 3.2 in Major League Baseball, so that's great. Pitching is not so much the problem. I know for the first series, it somewhat seemed that, but it's more the offense, I feel, right now. And if we can get a mixture, if we can get the best of both worlds, then I think this could be a New York Mets team that's ready to compete. It's early. Historically, like I said, the Mets have always done good in the first half and fell in the second, so maybe things will change. We saw the Diamondbacks last year, the Texas Rangers last year, and, well, they didn't start off to a good season, so we'll see. But as of right now, it's really just going to come down to JD Martinez coming into this lineup. Francisco Lindor really starts to hit. Jeff McNeil starts to hit more. And, the bottom of the order can really start to produce. They got to start driving in runs and get that offense up. Hit for more power, advance the runners, steal, be more sneaky on the bases, let the pitching do their job, and we'll have to see. But otherwise, that is the end of the first podcast for the 2024 New York Mets regular season. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. Please feel free to give this video a like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and I'll be very interested to hear what you guys have to say. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya, LFGM.